Okay. Good morning, Facebook family. My name is Regina Askia Williams. I'm reaching you from New York City. I would like to welcome everybody once again to Saturday Online Clinic. Okay, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are in the world. For you, it might be afternoon or evening, wherever you are joining us from. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Please leave your comments in the comment section and tell us where you're joining us from so that we'll be able to go through and tailor our message to meet whatever problems we assess in your community. Okay, it's nice to have you. All right, so today I have several friends joining me from across the world. First in line is Maria Filipova. You're joining me from London, right? Maria,
Yes.
you're joining me from
Hi.
London. How are you?
Yes.
Welcome
Hi. How
to
are
Saturday
you?
Online Clinic. Finally, I get to see you. You always watch the program, and I don't get to talk to you. Finally, it's so good to see you. Welcome. All right, let's talk a little bit. What do you do? What do you do in London?
I live here with my family. Before
Oh,
I come here, I used to work in the agricultural university as scientist with
okay.
electron microscope, like microbiologist. Because of that, I'm very good with these viruses and bacteria. I used to work
Yes.
in 30 years with this and research what these little things
Yes.
make to people and plants and animals.
Okay, all right, good. Good to have you, a microbiologist in the studio. Perfect person to talk to us about the COVID. How is it with the COVID in London? Is the situation getting better? Are you seeing less admissions or less infections? Talk to me about that, the COVID situation in London, where you are.
uh, at the moment, it's pandemic is still rising. Unfortunately, I take some information from the TV, and the Department of Health and Social Care reported a further 186.
180. Yes.
Yes, 105 fatalite.
Yes.
Um,
We're having a problem with your audio.
Sorry
All
about
right.
that. Sorry about 146 died in the
Okay.
last night, and all setting across the UK on Friday,
Yes.
compared to 149 on Thursday and 154 on Wednesday.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, the number of people who have tested positive for coronavirus across the UK now stands at 309,360. And the number of who have died with coronavirus is 43,440,
Oh, Lord.
which is not good. But
That's
the
not good.
people, of course, is not good. The people are not happy staying home. They want to
So they
start.
go out and they don't wear the mask. They don't practice any
Absolutely.
social distancing. They don't wear the mask. They
No,
don't. They don't practice.
most of them don't. Especially 2 days ago, here was very hot. The temperature became nearly 31 Celsius degrees, and most of the people go to the seaside. I can't show the pictures of the
It's
people on the.
okay. Yes.
Yeah, that is on the beach, on the seaside. If it's possible to see how many people can you see. It's
Yes. Oh, that's
all
a
this.
recent picture.
This is
Okay.
this is pictured from the newspaper for the Sun
Okay.
newspapers, and they show the people who just go on the beach without mask, without stay 2 meters far away, without any gloves, and I will be not. surprise after 1 week. The
Oh Lord,
things
I'm
will
very
be
sad to hear that. I wish
yeah,
that people will listen more to what the health industries is saying, what the people in the health ministries are saying in terms of social distancing, in terms of wearing the mask, in terms of washing their hands. You know,
and
people need
all.
to stay home. Yeah,
Yes,
people
for
need to
their
stay home.
safe life.
Yes, yes. If people need to stay home if they don't have any essential businesses outside. Maria, I want to thank you for joining us from London today. You were very nervous about this, but you see, it's just a
I
conversation.
just want to show you a lot of pictures that they felt now.
Thank you for joining me, all right? Have a beautiful rest of your day, all right? So I look forward to talking with you on other programs, subsequent shows, now that you see how easy it is, okay? All
Yes, thank you
right.
very
Have a
much.
beautiful day.
And thank
All
you and
right.
have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. So, thank you, Maria, for joining us. I expect that my other guests will click in and come into the studio. I'm expecting to speak with Queen Ahaghaotu. I want to thank Yasmin for joining us from Austria. Yasmin Udenze, it's good to have you. Nnaemeka for joining us from Abuja, and Michael Isenbom for joining us from Uyo, Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you with me, okay? So when I'm able to get Queen in the studio, we will talk about the state of the nation of Nigeria, okay? Queen has lived in the diaspora and she has also lived in Nigeria. I want to talk with her. I want to talk with her about the situation in Nigeria, what is going on? Did she move from here to Nigeria? If she moved, does she find that the conditions for, you know, decent basic lifestyle, are they available in Nigeria? How does she find employment in Nigeria? Is it conducive? The employment situation, is it conducive? Are there jobs for the young people? Are you having decent supply of clean water, light, and the rest of that? How is it for a woman to work in the government sector in Nigeria? Okay, how is it when you compare it to here? Okay, so Nigeria does have its shortcomings. What about out here? Can she compare and contrast what it is to work out here and how it is to work in Nigeria? I'd like to talk to her about that. And this agitation for Biafra, I would like her to make comments on this agitation on, asking for Biafra, and also talk to me about the state of the nation of Nigeria, um, work environment, life situation, comparing and contrasting, and also talk to me about Biafra. I also have Dr. Nnameni Ariari. I always mispronounce names. I hope when they come, they'll pronounce their names properly. Okay, I don't want to hurt anybody's name. I also have Dr. Nnaemeka Ahaghaotu. Okay, he's an investment banker. All right, so the economy of Nigeria is really impacted by the COVID situation. What are Nigerians going to do to help themselves? I want this investment banker to talk to me about the investment instruments available to ordinary Nigerians in simple terms. People come and talk about gross domestic product, foreign direct investment, per capita income, all that. People don't understand that. I want investment explained to the ordinary Nigerian in simple terms. What can they do to help their situation? Okay, so I'm waiting for all of you in my studio. I also have Dr. Og on standby. Dr. Og, are you with me? Hello, doctor, are you with me? Hello, Dr. Og, are you with me? Okay, so Dr. Og is a COVID survivor. How did she manage to survive? What did she do? What are the essential things that somebody must do to be able to take care of themselves in a COVID situation? So while I am waiting for my guests, I would appreciate if you can send in your questions, okay, so that We will have them on ground as these people come in. Dr. Nnaemeka, are you with me? I see that you're in the studio, but I don't see any picture of you. I'm waiting. All right. Dr. Nnaemeka. All right. While I wait for him, please while I wait for him, send in your questions so we have them on ground as we wait. Okay. All right. So people don't need to be afraid of coming in to have a discussion. This is an ordinary conversation. Okay. Take a deep breath and click your guest link, and you will be in my studio. All right. If your guest link invite is not working, please let me know so I can send you another link. Okay. All right. So Jacob Susanna says she's very interested in the Biafra talk. All right. So me too. The last time I talked about Biafra, if tomatoes could fly through the screen, I'm sure I would have been covered in tomatoes, but that's all right. It is always good to talk about a situation. Talk about a situation, tell the story as truthfully and as honestly as you can so that we understand the mistakes we made in the past and therefore, not make the same mistakes in the future, okay? So please, my guests, click on your guest links and join me in the studio, all right? Okay, so I find that we have not done a lot of clinical updates on the COVID situation. So if you're able to see what is going on here, I have my doll, okay, with the body organs. I have a list of talking points, and I have a whole lot of products here. We're going to discuss these products, all right, and build on our COVID agenda. Who do I have in the studio? Okay. Yes, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. We're going to go ahead and talk about COVID since it looked like everybody was too scared to come in the studio, but it's a pleasure to have you. Talk to me. You're very welcome to Saturday Online Clinic.
Thank you very much.
While we are talking about this in Saturday Online Clinic is because we're all a product of our environment. Whatever happens in our environment impacts on our health, our body, and soul. Okay, so there's a lot going on in Nigeria. The COVID situation in Nigeria has really impacted on the economy, and the ordinary Nigerian, right, does not really understand what to do at this point. Everybody is mostly at home because of the partial lockdown. Businesses are not, in full flight as they should be. Most people are not able to make ends meet. So we're going to talk about the money situation as regards the income of the ordinary Nigerian, and we'll also talk about the Nigerian economy pre and post COVID, okay? But before we get into all that, let's talk about you and what you do.
Okay, my name is Nnaemeka Obiarerari.
Yes.
I'm an investment banker.
Yes.
Oil trader, financial engineer. Oil trader, yes.
Yes.
Financial engineer, and most interestingly, I'm a farmer, an agripreneur.
That is my latest. That's a new one.
Yes, the agripreneur.
Okay.
That is my fashion, my latest passion. I'm trying to plug in the supply gap in Nigeria. It's interesting to note that a country that has over 64 million hectares of arable farmland imports annually over $11.3 billion worth of food and food-related commodities. It is interesting also to note that countries like Netherlands that has arable land mass that is even half of Benue State exports over $120 billion worth of food and food-related commodities annually. While we struggle with our concentration on the depleting fossil fuel that is like the cost of the nation. So, an investment bank with over 20 years experience.
Yes.
Having funded things in different sectors. And one of the things I realized, no matter how enterprising a nation is, any nation that cannot guarantee food security. And also, if you look at the industrialized level of Nigeria, if you look at our level of technological infrastructure, if you really want to create jobs in Nigeria, looking
Yes.
at the deficiencies in infrastructure, literacy level, and every other thing. The only way you can go about it, the quickest, shortest means, in a way that you can create jobs, create wealth, reduce importation of of these things that we can actually produce locally here, is to drive massively into mechanized agriculture and agro processing.
Okay.
Is one of the keys to unlocking the latent potentials in the country before we start going tech.
Okay. Great. I'm happy to hear that because as it stands, because of COVID or thanks to COVID, not a lot of people are buying oil because so many factories, so many industries, or even cars, everything is on the lockdown. There's not much of oil sales going on. That means that the economy of Nigeria will be seriously impacted, and that means they have to look somewhere else for income. This means that we'll also turn to export. Okay, to export maybe agricultural products and create parallel lines of income for the country. All right. So at this point, there's a lot of young people in Nigeria who are out of work. And then you mentioned that the immediate avenue for employment would be mechanized agriculture. If somebody's listening right now, how do they get up from where they are to, you know, become a part of this mechanized agriculture, the farming and whatever, to create income for themselves? Because
Okay,
that's the avenue in today's Nigeria.
let me come in here. Nigeria is a country, and I will say it without missing word. People run away from controversy. I love controversy as long as I'm speaking the truth and standing by facts.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria as a country is blessed with the best population demography that we can think of around the world. We have a youthful population of over 60%,
Yes.
18 and above.
Yes.
And we have 111 million employable adults. 111 million.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have 43 million of them out of job, either unemployed or underemployed. Now, let's look back because, first of all, the major challenges we have here is that we sometimes look at solving the opiates and applying elixirs instead of creating panacea to the root cause of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Our problem started in 1966. I want to get the foundation before I can now come and put in place comprehensive framework, governmental, societal, and individual participation on how we can make these things work.
Yes.
If you look back to history, before the advent of oil at Oloibri, if you
Mm-hmm.
look at 1960, Nigeria became independent in 1960. And the independence of Nigeria was founded on an independent constitution that was agreed upon by our forebearers, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Herbert Macaulay,
Yes.
Ahmadu Bello, Obafemi Awolowo, Anthony Nahoro. They sat down, had different conferences here in Nigeria, even in the UK, to fashion out a constitutional framework that can enable us to harness the strength in our diversities and
Yes.
looking at the things that God has naturally endowed Nigeria with on how we can grow.
Mm-hmm.
That 1960 constitution was a watershed. It defined clearly how we could actually work together, living together as a people, and to build a great nation. As of 1960, we have not yet discovered oil at a commercial quantity level.
Yes.
Therefore, each and every region in Nigeria, then we had the northern region, we had the western region, and we had the eastern region. Each and every one of us, within this conclave, within this contraption called Nigeria, put together by Lord Frederick Lugard, had areas of strength. If you go to the north, we had the granite pyramid then.
Yes.
We had the cotton board. If you come to the west, we had the cocoa board. We
Yes.
had other things. Getting down to the eastern part of the nation,
Mm-hmm.
we had the palm oil. We
Yes.
had the coal. We had other natural resources that God endowed us with. Now, let me tell you what will shock you. If you go back to history, as of 1964, Nigeria controlled 45% of the global crude palm oil production in the whole world. Fast forward to as of 1964, Indonesia and Malaysia, which together today control 85% of the market, we are nowhere to be found in
Mm-hmm.
the scope of things in terms of palm oil production.
Yes.
The Malaysians and Indonesians actually went all the way to Calabar to pick the seedlings, which they modified today
Yes.
into the Tenera and the Super Gene species that they are using now to control the global palm oil market. As of December 2019, the global output for the CPO was put at about 74 billion kg, which is 73 to 74 million metric ton. Remember, in 64, Nigeria controlled 45% of that market.
Yes.
As of today, that market is worth over $92 billion. When you put the CPO and the PCK market, that is palm kernel oil and crude palm oil market, is worth about $95 billion. Indonesia is the champion in that field with 42 million metric ton, followed closely by Malaysia at 19.8 million metric ton production. Nigeria, that used to control 45% of this particular product, mostly found in the west, east, and middle belt of Nigeria, today can boast of only a paltry production volume of 1,015,000 metric ton, which is less than 42% of our domestic consumption in real terms. Let me give you a synopsis of what it would have been like if we had not abandoned our traditional mainstay to pursue the cost fossil fuel. If Nigeria had maintained the pace it had as at 1964, today we will be exporting nothing less than $42 billion worth of crude palm oil.
Yes.
I am not even talking about the other variants, the palm kernel oil. As of today, the global per capita consumption of that product is about 24 kg. We have over 3 billion people around the world consuming that product. 3 billion people involving over 150 products.
Yes.
Across the world. It is not yet too late, Regina, if we really want to do this right. Now, before we get it right, it's one thing to tell young men go into agriculture, go into processing, but I will tell you the challenges. I am an advocate of doing it, but you must do it right. I'll give you an example.
We're listening.
In 2016,
Yes.
like I told, I'm an investment bank, and one of the things that I've benefited in line with what I do in my profession, that's just like medical doctors in the course of their duties,
Yes.
happen to encounter all manner of patients, all manner of ailments. They are the things you will tell your personal doctor. You can't even say it to people who are close to you.
Yes.
Even if you're dishonest about your health issues, you cannot be dishonest about your health issues
So your
when
doctor.
you meet your doctor.
Yes.
The same thing with an investment banker. If you're coming to the bank to borrow money,
Yes.
or to advise you on the business you want to go into,
Yes.
one thing you cannot do, and one of the things I've learned over time, some people ask me, how come you know a lot across sectors in Nigeria? I got to know a lot because I encounter real-time investors, real-time entrepreneurs. In the course of discussing their business, in the course of my private research, somehow I add values to them by telling them things that they can do better. See, Regina, you cannot invent the wheel.
Yes.
What I mean, you cannot invent the wheel. There is no knowledge that is a new knowledge. Every knowledge is a build upon an existing knowledge.
Yes.
So let me not digress. So I came to discover over time that the major challenge we have in Nigeria, of course, which we will address over time in the course of this discussion, is the issue of structural deficiency. I will give you an example.
Structural
In
deficiency. What does that
2016,
mean?
in 2016, when we came together with some group of investors to set up what we today known as the Southeast Farms and Agricultural Processing Company Limited, SEFAPCO. Why do we use that name, Southeast?
Yes.
We will discover that over 80% of food and food-related commodities
Yes.
that are consumed in the southeast and the south part of Nigeria come mostly from the northern part of Nigeria. And interestingly, if you look at the alluvial soil texture in the south, if you look at demographics, there is no way the food chain should come from the north to the south, because the south actually occupy the tropical zone. The south actually have the rainforest zone. The south actually occupies and have the right soil and the temperate environment to grow crops.
But the
So
South
we
is interested in oil.
Yes. So we did our research and we came up with a timeline 20-year program
Yes.
on how we can provide food and food commodities at least 50% for the whole of the South and Southeast.
Mm-hmm.
So that was how this SPV was formed. And this SPV was formed by some group of 7 investors. It is a company that is owned by 7 investors. Other state government owns it 10% because it is a way of a PPP structure to enable us to take advantage of opportunities that are in the market. Now, can I tell you the challenges that we face?
I'm listening.
And the challenges that face the average Nigerian investor. As I talk to you today, just this morning, I got a report. Our plan is to develop 300 hectares of rice farm, 300 hectares of cassava, 300 hectares of maize, and 100 hectares of cucumber and watermelon each.
Yes.
Because we have a land bank of about 2,130 acres of land. But it will interest you to note. Now, we started by first of all looking at the low-hanging fruits, the crops that we can harvest within 3 months, within 4 months, within 5 months, within 1 year, before going into the long-term cash crop like the cashew and the palm trees. We started doing the palm seedlings that we're going to use to migrate into the palm plantation. Now we started with the cucumber and watermelon. As of today, we've done over 30 hectares. 10 hectares watermelon, 10 hectares cucumber, 10 hectares maize, which is about 450 plots of land.
Okay.
But do you know that this morning, the major challenge we have been facing is that of insecurity? We've done about 18-kilometer ring road by ourselves. Lack of infrastructure, no road.
Oh dear.
Now, the insecurity is not insecurity coming from the notorious herdsmen in quotes. The insecurity here is the insecurity coming from the local bandits. Our farm is located in Ahafia, Abia State, but the bandits come from the Ebonyi State. These are not Fulanis or Hausas or Yorubas. These are local bandits from neighboring community in Ebonyi State.
So security is a big problem.
Major big problem. As of today, these bandits have destroyed a D8 bulldozer, worth over 58 million that we deployed that place. Destroyed irreparably. As of this morning, these bandits came into the field and destroyed 204 plots of that plantation.
Destroyed by stealing crops or by just dismantling the machines? For what reason?
In their quest to harvest the palm plantation.
Oh.
They felt that we are disturbing them from stealing. I want to see how the kind of thing we see in Nigeria. Because we are trying to stop them from stealing our commodities, they decided to destroy it. 204 plots of land cultivated with 28 million naira went down the drain just like that. Now, this report I got this morning.
Don't brush that off. Don't brush that off. What are you going to do, or what do you suggest should be done to reverse that situation so that it doesn't happen again, because you're onto something really good?
Now, let me tell you the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
The farm manager went to the police to report. These guys are known. It's not they are no ghosts. These guys are known. They've been identified. Do you know that the police requested for even to register his complaint and for him to register it? For them to take his report, he will bring 100,000. I'm talking to a global audience. This is a real life situation. For him to register his report, police demands to register the report alone. Police demand that money should be paid to them for them to allow the complainant to register his report that hoodlums invaded his assets.
Should you not escalate this to the what is it? Who is higher than him? Should you not escalate this complaint maybe to the DPO or somebody? Do they know that that's what the policeman is doing down there?
Regina, we took this matter even to the zonal level, even to the regional level. It's the same situation. It is a very pathetic situation we have in Nigeria today. Now, can I tell you something? Because we are a group of people that believe that we do things by the rule.
Yes.
Normally, if we are the kind of people that want to do things outside the rule, all we do is establish our own militia, gather our own young men, arm them, and then we'll start hunting for those guys. But it is not the right way to go. You don't build a decent society by embracing lawlessness.
But there's
Now,
Amotekun, and Amotekun is not lawless. Why can't you get your
Amatokun is not lawless.
uh-huh.
And it's not as if, even within the regions, the state where we operate, that they do not have their own local vigilante or local security services. But the problem is that to muster that political will to put those security people at work is the challenge we are having. Now, let me even isolate the private challenges that we have encountered.
Yes.
Remember, these are corporate investors.
Yes.
We've lost in one night 28 million naira worth of assets. Now, imagine if this investment was done by a struggling young man. Just close your. Remember, we didn't borrow money to do this. These are aggregated investment by shareholders.
Yeah.
We will come to that because even the banks will not touch it. Now, just imagine for a second if this investment was done by, say, a collegiate of 10 young men who decided, okay, want to go into agriculture. Mm-hmm. They hired a bulldozer. They taxed themselves. And they went to the bank and borrowed, say, 28 million. Regina, these guys by now will have committed suicide.
Oh, man.
These guys will have been let down by a society that does not function well, by a security network that is absent, by a police force that will demand bribe before they will do their job. That is the kind of Nigeria that we are living in. Now, back to the issue that we are discussing.
Yes.
Nigeria today is a society that is broken down because of the structural deformities that we have in Nigeria. And these structural deformities are hinged on our constitutional issues. Mm-hmm. Remember that in 1960 to 1964, between 1966, we ran a constitutional federation that allowed people to grow at their own pace.
Yes.
Awolowo preferred to do education, and the West had robust education system.
Okay, I don't want to disturb you. I don't want to, but our guest, audience will be sending in questions, and I'll be reading them out as we go. Okay. Good. So you were talking about structural deficiencies. Somebody says that Nigeria is very sick and obviously unworkable. Do you believe that? Because that sounds like no hope.
Please. See, Regina, Nigeria as of today is not a country. Nigeria is a jungle. I will tell you, yes, Nigeria is a jungle. That is why hoodlums will bear arm, walk into a society,
yes,
destroy assets, start extorting from people, and the government of the day that are elected to protect the same people will start negotiating with them on how to stop their criminality. The police that is supposed to protect the people will now start asking the people to give them bribe, even to record their complaints. Let me tell you. You see, everything we've talked in Nigeria today, let me tell you why Nigeria is not working and why Nigeria will never work until we rebuild that foundation. Nigeria actually worked between 1960 to 1966, despite our teething challenges. Mm-hmm. Nigeria truly worked. Because then in Nigeria, we had regional police arrangements.
Yes, which we could restart.
Which is like the Amatokun, yes. Different from the police network. Now, let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. In 1964, this Eastern Regional Police Force of the old Eastern Nigeria was rated as the most organized in the whole of Africa. Some of them were posted to Congo and to some other South African countries to go there to go and maintain peace. Yes. Because everybody grew at their own pace. Because people looked inward to develop what they had inward. Mm-hmm. There was no need for the kind of mediocrity that we are having today. You cannot police a place you don't understand. Imagine if we had the kind of things they have in the US. We have state police. We have central police.
Yes.
We have regional police. And then we have municipal police, just like we have the Los Angeles Police Department or New York Police Department. Just for a second, close your eyes and imagine if your Ahaghaotu local government area where we are situated, mm-hmm. the local government chairman has the capacity to set up his own local government municipal police force, fully armed and trained. There's no way those bandits will have entered our farm without being fished at within 24 hours.
Yes.
But because the policemen, either the DPO or the area commander in Ohafia, may not even be an indigenous of Ohafia, he does not care what happens to Ohafia people. He does not care what happens to their assets. All he's after is to use their uniforms as means to extort from the poor masses. And this issue also goes down to the foundational issue of we are talking about here, the constitutional aberration, the satanic verse, which we call the 1999 Constitution.
Satanic.
The only way we can fix Nigeria, the only way we can fix Nigeria,
yes,
the only way we can diversify the economy of Nigeria, the only way we can even go into agro processing without the issue of the challenge we are having. Now, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
In 21st century Nigeria, 2020, Nigeria is the only country in the whole world that is still doing open grazing. Regina, can I ask you a question? How can you encourage people to go into farming when you are still maintaining an open grazing policy where somebody's 20 acres farm can be wiped out by a herd of 100 cows, uncontrolled and uncheckmated? If you even come to Africa, Nigeria is not even the biggest cattle rearing country. Sudan has about 34 million heads of cow. Ethiopia has 38.
Yes.
Nigeria is number 4. We are recorded to have about 19 million cows. But Nigeria is the only country in the whole wide world. In Brazil, they have over 240 million heads of cow. In Netherlands, it's the same thing. The Danish government makes over $28 billion from dairy and cow-related products.
Yes.
Yet, in some of these countries, even in Africa, they do not condone open grazing. We have a country that is so deformed. What does this stop us? And the most unfortunate thing is because we are running a quasi-feudal unity system of government.
Yes.
That is designed to create poverty and debt and misery. That is why the governors cannot wake up and say today, Benue State have done it and are suffering for it. Why the governors in each of the states in the south have refused to pass the anti-open grazing law is what I cannot explain.
Anti-open grazing law, okay.
Anti-open grazing law, why they've not done it is what I cannot explain. Now, the only way we can fix this country is to take the 1999 Constitution,
yes,
that satanic document, and burn it to shred. Okay. And then go back to 1960. Bring out that independent constitution, modify it and amend it to suit our contemporaneous time, and adopt it to help us.
Okay.
That was the constitution that was adopted and agreed to independently after different constituent assemblies and meetings by the forefathers.
Okay.
That constitution allowed for fiscal federalism.
Fiscal federalism.
That constitution allowed for autonomy of regions.
Yes.
That constitution allowed for resource control. Whatever you produce, consume 50%. Give 30% to the port to be shared by the less privileged Babiyala regions or states that have refused to work for themselves. And then 20% should be given to the federal government. And then we should devolve power, make the exclusive list to only be, to be for security, foreign affairs, and one other thing. Things that has to do with education, with road, with rail services should be devolved to the state.
Yes.
Nigeria is the only country where the Land Use Act empowered the state to control land. Yet the federal government is still maintaining Ministry of Works,
yes,
Ministry of Transport, and the Railway Corporation that is being managed under a moribund 1955 Railway Act even before independence. Go to Ghana, go to Ethiopia, go to Kenya, go and see what they are doing by way of public-private partnership in developing their rail infrastructure. South Africa controls 85% of the rail infrastructure in Africa. Yet, Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, with a landmass of 923,000 square kilometers, has a rail network of less than 4,000 kilometers. UK, United Kingdom, with 243,000 square kilometer land mass, which is a quarter of Nigeria, has a rail line and rail network of about 16,000 kilometers. Nigeria as a country can actually develop 48,000 kilometer rail lines and infrastructure over the next 10 years if we unbundle the Satanic 1999 verses and impanel the 1960 constitution,
Yes.
upon which our founding fathers agreed to work together as a country.
Yes.
That is the only way. You see, what I feel sorry for the youth in Nigeria. We have the most resilient, the most hardworking.
Yes.
See, let me tell you, if you take Nigerian youth the way they are,
yes,
and export them to America or to UK or to cities where things work,
they will do very well.
Regina, have you put out to ask yourself this question? If you come to the United States, out of the 356,000 Nigerian immigrants in the US, 4% of them are PhD holders.
Yes.
Over 58% of them are master's degree holders.
Yes.
See, how come you are in the US, you're doing well? Chioma is in the US, she's doing well. Go and check. Most of our contemporaries, once they migrate to US or Europe, you will see an undergraduate struggling in Nigeria to graduate. He goes to Harvard, he tops his class. He goes to Howard, he tops his class. Out of the 96 medical graduates of Howard University last year, 46 were Nigerians. 16 of them were on the honors list. How come things don't work here, but when they go there, it works?
Enabling
the
environment.
major problem we have in Nigeria, one of the reasons why we have a youthful population that is underemployed and unemployed, why we have rising crime wave and crime rate, is because of the 1999 Satanic verses. Until that 1999 Satanic verses is destroyed and replaced with the modified 1960 version, I will tell you, Nigeria will not only continue to be a jungle, it will be a white jungle where the hyenas and the vultures will continue to prey on the innocent lower animals that are not have means of survival.
Oh, Lord. This is very sad. This is very sad to hear. You have made a lot of points, but I refuse to give up on Nigeria. Now, I'm happy that you say that we have to burn the 1999 Constitution and do another one, make a redo of our Constitution.
Pick the 1960 Constitution.
Yes.
Modify it to suit our contemporaneous time of 2020.
Yes.
That 1960 Constitution is the only thing that can save us. Without us going back to what we agreed upon, we will be wasting our time.
Okay.
You know, okay.
Thank you. We'll come back to that train of thought. But before we go too far, please tell me, maybe, how can young people organize themselves right now? I know that's what you're doing by going back to the farm. Should they make cooperative institutions? Should they make, what can they do to, get involved in the agri sector? I know the structure is not there yet, but they can organize themselves and protect the farms. Like we used to pay people from church to come and do harvest on the farm. They can pay people to guard the crops and guard the farms, something like that. Because the big problem that's going on right now in Nigeria because of the COVID is that people don't have food to eat. People don't have any money, So these little things they can do on the side to get involved in ventures that can fetch them pocket money is a good thing. This will prevent crime. This will prevent, giving birth to many more hush puppies, which you'll talk to me about in a little bit. Please talk to us about that.
Okay, Regina, interestingly, despite the challenges, we are not giving up. We are not quitters. We cannot give up.
Yes.
Like rightly, Nigeria is our country. We can't run away. We must help.
It's the only one we have, yes.
But it's very frustrating looking around a country with so much latent potentials, but wasting away. Now, there is something we are trying to, we are put together.
Yes.
One of the participants in your program, Chioma Ahaghaotu, will tell you. She's a US citizen, but one of the most passionate people I've ever come across. She's so passionate about Nigeria.
Yes.
She wants to help her home country.
Yes.
And the young lady and some other guys have been here. We have been working together.
Yes.
One of the things that we have put together, we looked at Nigeria and we looked at our youth. We can't give up on our youths.
Yes.
I still say it with every single. Our youths are very honest. We have honest Nigerians. I've seen honest young men. In fact, interestingly, our farm manager is a 27-year-old man, a master's degree holder. The guy is one of the most enterprising young men that I've come across. Very honest young men. I've seen them in Nigeria and we can help them. So one of the things that we have done, Chioma, myself, Charles Obu, and some other guys, we came together to set up what we call Diaspora Investment Aggregation Multipurpose Cooperative Society.
Say that again, please.
Diaspora Investment Aggregation Multipurpose Cooperative Society.
Okay. All right.
And now, why did we come up with this idea? Regina, let me tell you the challenge we face in Nigeria. You know, I'm a banker. With every sense of responsibility, I will tell you this. Most of Nigerian banks are not designed and floated to help Nigerian economy.
What are they designed to do?
No, they are not designed. They are actually designed to be money laundering fronts for public sector officials.
Oh my God, you're making some serious statements.
Now, listen to me.
And
sometimes too, I don't blame them. Regina, go to AMCON and look at the list of debtors in AMCON. As of today, AMCON is carrying debt portfolio of about 5.4 trillion naira.
Yes.
Debt portfolio of bad debtors who refuse to pay their monies, the monies they borrow from the bank. Now, if you look at a list of those who took that money, remember that AMCON bailed out some of these banks using taxpayers' money. Out of this 5.3 trillion or 5.4 trillion bad that AMCON is carrying, over 60% of them were incurred by less than 500 people in Nigeria. Some of these men are walking around today as billionaires, multi-billionaires. Nothing is happening. Now, the average youth in Nigeria cannot access money to the Nigerian bank. I will give you an example. Most of the things we are doing today as self-upcall are self-funded and aggregation of funds from shareholders. You read CBN tell you that they have 1 trillion naira intervention fund. I call it audio money. Audio money because the real beneficiaries, those who should access that money, do not have access to that money. We approached a bank. When we started this project, we approached a bank to support us. Regina, this is an agro enterprise that has a land asset of about 2,130 acres of land. That has a fully automated palm oil processing mill that produces about 60 tons of palm oil every week. A company that is valued at over 3.73 billion naira, real net assets outside liabilities. In fact, no liability as of today. Do you know what the banks told us? The banks told us that they will not fund against our business assets. They will not give us monies against the factory that we funded wholly with our private money. The bank said that they can only give us money if we bring our properties in Banana Island, or the one in Maitama and Asokoro, or the one in Lekki, or the one in Ikeja, before they will provide us funding for expansion. Regina, how many Nigerian youths have properties in Banana Island? How many Nigerian youth has properties in Lekki Phase 1? How many Nigerian youths have property in Ikeja or Maitama or Asokoro? That is the challenge. And sometimes I don't blame them too. Because the 5.4 trillion that AMCON is carrying today.
So sorry, can you hear me now?
Hello, I'm sorry to break in. Hello, Chioma. You're welcome to the discussion. I have with me Dr. Nnaemeka Obiarerari, and this is Chioma Amarhyllis. Ahaghaotu.
Yeah.
Can we pronounce the name properly, please?
Chioma Amarhyllis Ahaghaotu.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome to the program. Finally, thank you. Go ahead, Doctor. Sorry to barge in.
Okay, I'm happy to have Chioma online too because Chioma is involved in what we are doing.
Okay.
So, now, interestingly, I will give you an example. You know, Nigeria is a very funny country. When you hear about all these intervention funds, they'll put 50 billion naira here, they'll put 100 billion naira. These are audio monies or money that are appropriated among the elites. They aggregate names, share these monies, declare it bad debts, and everything goes on as normal.
Oh dear.
It's on record that over the last 5 years, Central Bank of Nigeria said that they've disbursed over 669 billion naira as agric intervention. Regina, I should ask you this question: if they've injected 669 billion into Nigerian economy in the agri sector, why are we still importing $11 billion worth of food annually?
Tell me about it. Yes.
They told us that they earmarked 30 billion naira intervention fund for the palm oil sector.
Yes.
Now, I read an article in the Business Day. They say that they are sharing 10 billion naira to 120,000 civil servants in Kogi State for palm oil intervention. Regina, listen to this.
Yes.
CBN has 30 billion for agri intervention in the palm oil sector.
Yes.
The palm belt identified by the same central bank is the 11 states in the southeast and south, and there's some states in the southwest and the middle belt. Yet, out of 30 billion naira that they purported earmarked for agri intervention, they are telling us that 10 billion have been disbursed or about to disburse to 120,000 workers. Who are the 120,000 workers? Do they not have a name and identity?
Oh Lord.
So the challenge we have in Nigeria, apart from the infrastructure deficiencies, apart from the fact that we are so dishonest in this country in terms of providing intervention fund for these youths,
Yes.
we also do not have the technical know-how to support them. So what we did, we sat down. Chioma is here live. Chioma is one of the most passionate Nigerians I've come across, who is so passionate about how they can contribute. Remember, she was the one entrusted with aggregating diaspora participation in Imo State under the last government.
Yeah.
And so it was during that period that we came across, and I saw the passion, I saw the excellence, I saw the honest desire. Because one thing is to have passion, and one thing is to have knowledge and then be honest about it.
Yes.
So we now came together. The only way we can support the youth in Nigeria is for us to provide them with a platform that can help them. Our state government cannot help them. We can become a government to them by providing them with land,
Yes.
provide them with technical assistance,
Yes.
provide them with infrastructure,
Okay.
provide them with equipment support, and then funding, aggregated cheap funding.
All
Because
this from the DIAMCS group that you set up?
yes, it's not me, we. Because
Okay.
Chioma is part of it, Charles Obu is part of it, I am and some other diaspora Nigerians.
Is there a website to go to?
We already, I said it's just an initiative that we started.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
So it's
an initiative that we just started. We've incorporated it. We've just started it. Now, what we want to do here, if you look at the opportunities in Nigeria, is so huge. So huge opportunity.
Can we mute our phones? Can we mute our iPads and phones because we're having resonance? Somebody's listening, but their volume is on, so we're having resonance, clashing. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. This is a very serious discussion.
So what we want to do now, we have already provided a land bank of about 2,135 acres with certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
We have provided infrastructure. We have done borehole. We have done access road, and we are bringing equipment. Like I said, we have a bulldozer for most of the works, mechanized farming.
Yes.
So what we want to do now is a modified version of what they call the anchor borrower scheme. So we are going to go to the surplus economic unit. We have a lot of diaspora Nigerians, and even Nigerians within, who are ready to support this kind of lofty initiatives that will create job and add value to our local economy. So basically, the essence of setting up that cooperative is to let in members, anybody that wants to participate, to support, grow our economy in the southeast and the south side of Nigeria, help create job for the youth, help create taxable income for government. We join the cooperatives. We will aggregate funding, apply those funding transparently. while aggregating participants among the youth, provide them with training, and help them to cultivate and mass produce some of these commodities that are things that we need in Nigeria. Our job also is to help them, apart from production, to provide them with storage facilities and distribution facilities, and also help them to identify the offtake market where these things will be sold on a quarterly basis, on a semi-annual basis, on an annual basis. We will render returns so that those who contributed the funds have good returns to their investment, rather than keeping their funds idle in commercial banks who do nothing to help the economy, than to help public sector to launder their money. And then it will also help to create jobs among the teeming youths. Good job, not the kind of empower money. Good job that can fetch them at least 100K every month as income.
Yes.
You and I know. Sometimes I laugh at Nigeria when I see some poor men flaunting as rich men. I laugh. Do you know that a fuel attendant in the US makes more money than a bank general manager in Nigeria? A fuel attendant in the US makes more income. I will break it down. A fuel attendant in the US makes an average of $15 per hour.
Okay.
If he works for 8 hours, multiply it in a month, and multiplied by 450 naira, the parallel market rate. Compare it to what you have. 92% of Nigerians live on less than 60,000 naira income per day. 178 million Nigerians live on less than 60,000 naira income per month. 60,000 naira is less than $120.
Okay.
$120 is less than what a fuel attendant, the man that put fuel in your car in America, earns in a day.
Okay.
That is how shameful things have become in this country, and we do not say anything wrong about it. So what we are trying to do now is to create this platform that can help the average youth, especially in the southeast and south of Nigeria. Another part of Nigeria where they want us to come, like in Ogun State, they're inviting us. In Ondo, they're inviting us.
Okay.
To create a platform that can help youths make an average of at least 100,000 a month. Okay. Let us start from there and grow it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You made so much sense today. Thank you. And I'm hoping that the people in power who are listening will, give us some kind of audience, give some kind of consideration to the young people of Nigeria and help us stand. Because this is the only way we can curb the proliferation of people like Hush Puppy coming out here to give us a bad name by getting involved in nefarious activities to further down the reputation of Nigeria. Queen, I'm coming to you. Okay. Thank you. Hold on, Dr. Nnaemeka. Queen, I'm coming to you. You have lived out here and you have lived in Nigeria. I want you to compare and contrast. When Donald Trump called Nigeria a shithole nation, we all were so angry about it. Is he lying? Listening to what Dr. Nnaemeka has said, is he lying? What can we do about that? Also, we keep talking to our children to come back to Africa and experience what it means to be an African, get to know your people, get to know your roots. Are we doing our children a disservice when we know that Nigeria, according to you, is a jungle? Well, can you talk to me about that? Compare and contrast what it means to live here and to live in Nigeria. And also, how can we create an enabling environment for our people in Nigeria? Thank you so much for what you have been doing, trying to create that platform for the young people. And I'm going to follow up with DIAMCS and see how we can promote that. Okay, so Chioma, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Regina. Hello, everybody. Well, I think that me and Doc, we differ a little bit, with a lot of things, especially when it comes to the way that the Africans in the U.S. I'm going to concentrate on the U.S. because that's really the country that I know best or more.
Yeah.
Getting to the statement of us being from shithole countries, I know that the very first time that I heard it, it wasn't a surprise to me. On the one hand, it doesn't mean that, Nigeria, that, is sort of motherland for all of us, isn't going through a whole lot. I mean, it's been going through a whole lot since the independence, right? So we already know
Yes.
that. But the problem, however, is the racist undertone that comes from making it a they versus us kind of conversation. It's no longer, oh, you're from Africa and this is what it's, you come from shithole countries. And we know he was referring to Africans. He wasn't
Yeah.
referring to other immigrants, because I mean, we talk about America. I mean, America is an immigrant kind of,
Nation.
nation. It's
Yeah.
the very creation of America. The fact that a couple of people were disgruntled with what was going on, in Europe, wanted
Yes.
to, so they came and discovered, um, you know, America. So the United States of America, as we know it, isn't something that has organically been there, right? So you came to other people. So it has that sort of immigrant culture embedded in the very fabric,
Yes.
But we know that the kind of immigrants that is acceptable to America do not look like us,
Mm-hmm.
do not sound like us, do not, my dad has been in the US since the 70s. I mean, he went to school in the US, he went to Howard University. And I, left Nigeria when I was little. But I come every single year for Christmas with my
Yeah.
parents, with family, until I became an adult. And after college, I started visiting myself. And, there's a whole bunch that is here about certain things. You have to live in the US to understand the socioeconomic undertones to things. You have to understand the systematic, institutionalized racism that is
Yeah.
often the undertone of white supremacy. We have to
Yeah.
own a racist society. We've always known that. I mean, we can go through this all day, but there is something very peculiar about our current president, by saying, I come from a shithole country. And then you have Nigerians who are in Nigeria, who live in Nigeria, saying, oh, well, it's a shithole country, and stuff. So to me, I pay taxes in the US. I pay taxes in Nigeria now, because I've been here. So this will be my third year. So this will be my third year in Nigeria, right? So as an adult. But if, for example, people need to kind of sort of look at this very well. Let's say, for instance, you come to the US and you came to visit. You came on a visit visa, and you came to visit an uncle and stuff. Like, the police, the cops in the US are not going to say, well, he is on a visit visa, so he's not the kind of black we're talking about. Just because you went to Yale or Harvard or you went to any other Ivy League school doesn't mean that you are separate from the conversation when it is shaped a certain way. So when someone is saying the people who come from a shithole country, he's not talking about the white immigrants, he's talking about your kind of immigrant. And there's no a trigger happy cop is not thinking about whether you just came from Nigeria or whether you've been in Nigeria. There was a post I wrote, and I said, the fact that you're in healthcare, Regina, and a lot of my family members, including my dad who's retired now, were healthcare doctors, pharmacists, nurses. I know how much of a contribution that our people contribute, not just healthcare but tech. When you go to California, and when you get to a certain level, even in government, I was in DC government,
Yeah.
at the very top, you see a lot of our people.
Yeah.
These are the hush puppies of the world. These are not the Obi-Wanis of the world.
Yeah.
These are people, first generation, second generation, third generation people,
Very cool. Yeah.
their tails every single day, who pay their taxes on time, that the R.M.S is not even coming to your house to say that you missed the payment. These are people who have been law-abiding citizens from day one. We
And to
happen
tell
as
us, yeah.
a country. Yes, my dad and my mother happen to come from a country, and I happen to come from originally from a country that, when we really look at it, it's not as if the problems that Nigeria has in a bubble. It didn't just appear. The same America is responsible for a whole bunch of other things. Yes, we're responsible for making it, enduring the shit. But
Oh my goodness.
think
Okay.
that we need to be honest about where the conversation
Mm-hmm.
came from originally.
Yes.
We from a shithole country. I mean, to me, it's like if Nigeria was such a shithole, to be very, very honest with you, we have neighborhoods like Banana Island where you can go to and
Yes.
you forget where you are. Then
Yes.
you have places in I don't know, like that is just basically outskirts of Lagos that is
Okay.
terrible. There are the rural areas that are terrible. So we
Yes.
know there's but these things like it cuts across, right?
Yes.
So and everybody takes a lot of that blame. But for Trump or for our president, the American president, to say such a thing, and for our people to say, well,
And to accept it
it's
as
right.
well.
Regina, there's one thing that we forget. It contradicts. I don't know if maybe you were not on my, I don't know if we were friends then, but I don't know if you remember last year when a couple of people went on Twitter and said that the Nigerian immigrants are the hardest workers. I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
So on the one hand, when they want to feel like trying to throw us a bone, they say, oh, we are hard workers. That is also
Election.
coded in.
Yes.
Yes. No, they were saying basically that the Nigerian diaspora are, hard workers, that they always do their work. And that comes, again, from a very deep-rooted thing. That most of the time when you migrate, especially when you're first generation, one of the
Yes.
things that you concentrate on is working. Especially most of the time when you have family in Nigeria, you have to send money and you have to take care of people.
Yes.
Now, if you come from a family like mine that have been migrating since after the Biafran War, and there isn't really anybody to take care of in Nigeria. So
Yes.
so those are like two things when they meet those kind of quote unquote the people they say are the hardworking immigrants. What they mean is you know your place. If
Yes.
someone calls you the N-word, you're not gonna fight because you're keeping your head down. You want to work overtime. You want to do all of the hours. You're not
Because
going to
you
be.
know you need it. Yes.
You are not going to question the very system that may make it very, very hard for you to be at the top. You're in healthcare, and I'm sure that you have basically gotten to the very top of your career. But you know that the
Yes.
fact that you plays a fact. There are people that it plays like a huge role, and unless you have lived in America,
You will
unless
not
you born
understand
in
it.
unless you have lived in America and let America pass through you, you
Yeah.
cannot understand the
Yeah.
system undertone. And these are the things that influence when they say, oh, we are hard workers,
Yeah.
or when they say we come from a shithole country, or when he says, when they start looting, we start shooting and stuff. When you go back to that, there is a history that backs all of that stuff up. And at the end of when you come to the end of it, you realize that whether you're a Black American and then your ancestors came on came on a boat against their will, whether you flew on an airplane and you paid your ticket, when a trigger happy cop is in front of you with a gun,
Yes.
they don't care. It doesn't matter if you're as light as I am. It doesn't matter if you're as dark as Doc is. It doesn't matter. You are Black. And if, for example, we keep adding onto the sort of the white supremacy message of we are better, we are that, it doesn't mean, do you understand? It comes a point where our children,
Yeah. Start internalizing the message.
as also the children, because my parents are still alive, and you realize that. So what would be the incentive for somebody like I was working with DC government and I quit my job because I actually believe that Nigeria is redeemable. I don't think it is completely out of the realm of
Okay.
practicality.
So thank you for that contribution. You believe that Nigeria is redeemable. This is a perfect segue into the discussion of Biafra. Now, if Nigeria is redeemable, why are people clamoring for Biafra? I interviewed Dr. Mogalu some time ago. He said that Biafra is just a call for justice. Biafra is a call for consideration of people from the southeast of Nigeria. And he does not think that, I mean, when people are consistently being treated unfairly, they are going to shout for, redemption. And if redemption is not coming, they are going to want to secede. So talk to me about Biafra and why people are so passionate about going with Biafra instead of rebuilding Nigeria, because I think that we're stronger together, if you ask me. But you would never know what is going on with a person until you walk in their shoes. So let me hear from you. And Doc, I'm bringing you back on the screen. Please talk to us about Biafra.
Okay, but well, let me just say this. As every Igbo human being that is alive on planet Earth as of today has Biafra intertwined into the very fabric of who they are. And what I mean by that is you have an uncle, you have a parent, you have grandparents, you have aunties or uncles who lived through the war. They told us what happened. We have seen documentaries. So there is that thing where I'm always sometimes very cautious about having this conversation in the Nigerian context, because if we are going to have a conversation honestly about Biafra, we need to acknowledge that there is something that happened that people still remember.
Yes.
Now that's just that's the by the way.
Yeah.
Now, sir, I think let me answer your first question. Why are people clamoring for Biafra? Somebody had made the argument that right before Buhari came into Nigeria, that a whole bunch of Igbo people were not that concerned about Biafra, or that they were not clamoring for Biafra the way that they are now, which is not exactly true. Because the clamor for Biafra has existed way before Buhari. It came way before that. But there's something very unique that has happened with this administration, and it goes back to a comment that he made about a 5%, a 95%. There has been political marginalization of Ndigbo. I will use Ndigbo because Ndigbo is not a reluctant term. You are an Igbo person. So Biafra might be divisive for what we're talking about to a certain extent. But I'm saying Ndigbo so that if you are anti-Biafra, you can at least hear me out so we can have the conversation. So that every person, if you look at the way the political appointments have been done, when you look at the fact that forget presidency, this has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the fact that time and time again, Aso Rock, by President Buhari, has shown that he is running the country for everybody else and not necessarily Igbo people as well.
Okay.
People who were maybe not supportive of succeeding from Nigeria, maybe prior to Buhari, people who were maybe nonchalant about it or indifferent, because he has stayed there for 4 years and gone into a second term, and there has been a trajectory leading to that of him not, it's not an inclusive government. It is not something just like us and everybody else, we what Trump is doing kind of in most. So it has made a whole bunch of young people, especially because this clamor for Biafra, surprisingly, isn't coming from the people you think it would be coming from. Basically, maybe like the old people who lived through it. There are people who want it, but for the people who really are clamoring for it right now, a lot of them didn't live through the war.
And so don't you know the ravages of the war and the danger that the war brings and the disruption and the destruction that came with the war? A lot of us who were plumped into that, who were caught in the middle, so to speak, with that war, suffered through it. The Biafran soldiers attacked, the Nigerian soldiers attacked, and then we lost property, we lost family. So when people like us hear war or secession or anything that will lead to that kind of situation, we are terrified about that. So the option is, do we build or do we destroy? Because you know what will come with secession. So the thing is, we have to acknowledge where we went wrong. Like the doctor said, the 1999 Constitution is where we derailed. So why don't we try to fix it? Why don't we reach out and yes, come in, please, Doc.
Can I come here? See,
Go ahead.
I agree with Chioma. I agree with Chioma wholly on her submission. And I will tell you this, you know, the issue of Biafra, when you hear people asking for Biafra, people talking about Ududua, people talking about Amatokun, people talking about Niger Republic and all this stuff, people talking about Arewa Republic, what you see are agitations
Yes.
because of the structural constitutional deformities in Nigeria. And
So
I
why
want to
don't we fix it?
now listen, Regina.
Yes.
Igbo as a people will benefit more in a united Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Igbo as a people
Yes.
are actually the only true Nigerians in Nigeria.
Okay.
I will explain to you.
Yes.
Yes, Regina, I own properties in Lagos.
Yes.
I own properties in Ibadan. I own in Akure. I have in Abuja. I can tell you that most of my contemporaries are the same socio-economic position as I am today, who are non-Igbos, do not have an inch of land in Igbo land for whatever reason. Now listen, the Biafran agitation is not an agitation that maybe we hate Nigeria. Now Igbos do not, Igbos actually love Nigeria. What is Igbo? What they are trying to do is simple. Let us go back to 1960 Constitution. Remember, Regina, before Nigeria gained independence, unlike the 1999 Satanic verses, I don't call it Constitution, Satanic verses,
Okay.
that Abdul Salam Abubakar brought Professor Yadu Dabi Udada, and they stayed in their bedroom and brought out that misery document.
Yes.
The 1960 Constitution was agreed upon. They had conferences. The ethnic nationalities came together and agreed we want to be one nation.
Yes.
And this is the only thing that can guide us, understanding our diversities, our different tongues, our different cultures and way of life.
Yes.
The clamor for Biafra is simple. It's an indirect way of asking Nigeria. It's either we go back to that thing that worked, or to your 10th O Nigerians. And I'll give you reasons. Regina.
Yes.
I have an age, my mother is 70 years old.
Okay.
In 1960, between 1960 to 1966, if I wanted my mother to travel to the US, she will not need to come to Lagos to come and queue up at Water Carrington to get US visa.
Okay.
Come to Lagos to queue up to fly out. Then we had consulates. I want you to understand this. The regions had consulates.
Yes.
I don't know if you understood. Why will my mother not have American embassy in Enugu where she can go to go and process her visa? Why will my mother need to fly to Lagos before she can catch a connecting flight to New York, to Canada? Why stop? Why would she not go to Owerri or Enugu or Port Harcourt and get a direct flight to the US without coming to Lagos? Why will I have to come to Lagos to clear my container when I can actually go to Iguacha, Port Harcourt, or to Cross River, or to Akwa Ibom, that is 45 kilometers from Owerri, to go and clear that container? Why will I be in Nigeria? Buhari will borrow $30 billion. $30 billion that will be repaid with taxpayers' money. And he will use the $30 billion borrowed in my name and in your name and be developing a railway that crosses from Katsina State to Maradi in Niger Republic. It is happening because of the flawed 1999 constitution.
Okay.
Now, I tell you this. If we open up, if we devolve Nigeria today, if we restructure Nigeria today, back to 1960 constitution, and devolve powers to regions and the states, Imo State, Abia, Anambra, Enugu, and Enugu can enter into partnership with Edo, Ogun State, and Lagos State under a PPP framework. Get private investors that will do a rail line from Lagos to Port Harcourt. They will not wait for Buhari and Rotimi Amechi to go and borrow money from China, then to choose who they like, who is 5% and who is 95%. So this is what is fueling the Biafran agitation. Like Chioma said, most of those who are clamoring because they've heard stories about my generation, and it is real. Right now, let me tell you this. If Nigeria is restructured today to the 1960 constitution, and the resource control is allowed, where people will retain 50% of what they contributed, where if my son, who is very smart like his father, scores 130 over 150, he is not denied admission in preference for a boy in Zamfara who refused to go to school, who scored 4 over 150. That is the agitation.
Okay.
If we can make money in Owerri, and 50% of that money is given to Owerri people, and 30% is put in Imo Port to share to other zones, there will be no trouble. What you see today is a clamor for things to be done rightly and properly.
Okay.
It is not right. Let me tell you, Zamfara has gold reserve. The gold reserve in Zamfara State is as rich as the gold reserve in Ghana. Now, Regina, let me tell you the skewed nature of our
mining the gold, and nobody's reporting.
They are mining the gold. Let me tell you, and eating the money. But they will want the man whose crude oil was gotten from his backyard in Uguta Ebema to bring it to Abuja. Then they will share it with landmass. The man in Boronu who refused to help solve the Boko Haram wahala. Because let me tell you, if we have a restructured Nigeria, where people are not being made to eat where they did not work, where monies are not gotten from Owerri and used to develop Boronu, if the locals know that no money will come to them from the federation accounts, and that the only way they will survive is to go back to farm, I will tell you they will unite, come together, work with authorities to destroy Boko Haram. I will give you an example. There was a time in the southeast, in Abia State to be precise, when we had a kidnap kingpin called Osikanko. There was a time in Aba and Onitsha, we had people called mafias who could not allow people to open their shops. In the southeast, things were so terrible that people that used to come to Aba and Onitsha to buy things from Togo, from Gabon, stopped coming because of the activities of these miscreants. One day, the traders in Aba woke up and said to themselves, if we do not rise up to stop this menace, our business will crumble. That was how Bakassi was formed. And the locals rallied up and uprooted the whole bad boys and criminals in the southeast. The same thing happened with Osikanku and the kidnappers. These were so tough. They were kidnapping people for 10 naira, for 1,000 naira, for what they would kidnap you and you pay for the church card. One day they made a mistake. In Igbo land, we value children. They made a mistake and kidnapped a bus that was laden with school children. The people woke up and said, enough is enough. And they put themselves together, and within a space of 6 months, Osisi Kanku and his gang of kidnappers were destroyed. And I say it with every sense of responsibility. The issue of militancy in the north, insurgency in the north, activities of the terrorist herdsmen in the southwest and southeast are being fueled by the skewed and destructive nature of the 1999 constitution. If today Nigeria is restructured and we go back to that physical, regional, and autonomous nature that we used to have. And they just have their power and their police. And they come together and say, we don't want open grazing, without fear of what they will do to them in Abuja. I tell you, the insecurity in the southeast will end. And if the guy in Zamfara state, the guy in Katsina state, Buhari state, the guy in Borno state, he realizes that if you do not rise up to work and protect their environment and protect the governors,
Yes.
that no money will come from Niger Delta oil into the pocket for them to share.
Yeah.
These guys will rise up to stop the criminality in their environment. Every criminality is local. And every criminality that is local can only be stopped through local participation in community policing. We came up with the idea of community policing. These guys in Abuja clearly understand that if you bring community policing the way it is in the US, that issue of insecurity will be curbed. They hijacked it and they said they want the IGP to be the one organizing it. Regina, Chioma, you and I, we know that no thief in my community can steal for too long without being captured.
Yes.
If the local decide to stop it. But if the local do not control the means of police enforcement and security, they become handicapped and they can't. Just last week, a boy was murdered in his farm in my community by terrorist herdsmen who invaded his farm. Those guys are untouchable because they are carrying AK-47, protected by security men and the obnoxious 1999 Satanic verses. Why the governor of my state or most of the governors in the south and south cannot courageously pass the anti-open grazing law is because they are afraid of the consequences or what may become of their governance or government from those who control and perpetuate things from Abuja. So the issue of Biafra is just an agitation, it's an elixir, in fact, it's just a symptomatic manifestation of the root cause of the problems we have in Nigeria.
Okay.
If Nigeria today is restructured back to what we have in 1960, all this issue of IPOB, Maso, will die a natural death. The average Igbo man knows of a truth that if Nigeria is meant to work, we are allowed to have our own open up the international waterways in the southeast and the south-south. Open up international gateway. Allow China, America, and UK to have embassies in Enugu and Owerri. Diversify the economy by allowing for resource control. Let the regions and the state control 50% of revenues from their state. Put that in the central bucket and give 20 to the central government. I tell you, Nigeria will work. Ndị Igbo will prefer a fully restructured Nigeria back to what we used to have in 1960 before 1966. Unless that is done, I can tell you, Nigeria will continue. You see, from Obasanjo was, if you compare all the presidents from 1990 now, Obasanjo did better than Jonathan and Yar'Adua. We thought that Jonathan and Yar'Adua were bad. Buhari came and upped the cake. Let me tell you, if we don't restructure Nigeria, a worse than Buhari will emerge in 2023. And Nigeria will continue to stew. Let me tell you see, like Chioma right about that, let me tell you why Trump, despite his erratic nature, I don't like most of this he does, because I will tell you this. He's very infantile, he's very erratic. Sometimes I ask myself, he thinks only about himself. He's very narcissistic. He thinks only about himself. Everything revolves around his world. Do you know that if you bring that kind of person in Nigeria, he can have his way? Because we don't have institutions that can checkmate him, unlike what we have in America. What we have in Nigeria is not a constitution. What we have is a feudal document packaged together by Satanists to continue to create poverty in Nigeria. In 1980, the poverty rate in Nigeria was far lower than what we had in China. As at 1980, in China, we had about 850 million extreme poor people. In Nigeria, it was 4 million poor people. Fast track it in 2020, 40 years after. China has been able to rescue over 780 million people from poverty. Nigeria has gone our extreme poverty from 4 million to 95 million today. All because of the 1999 Satanic verses. If you bring a Barack Obama into Nigeria and bring Trudeau of Canada to be his vice, and export all the rest of America into Nigeria, Nigeria will continue to be a shithole jungle until we remove that Satanic verse, which is the root cause of our woes.
Okay, so thank you so much. Now, how can we go about presenting or agitating for restructuring? What can we as Nigeria's young people do? You have made a lot of points. You have, said a lot of things that need to be done. But what can we do? I mean, we are doing something right by sitting here and having this discussion, throwing light on this issue and enlightening everybody on what is going on. But how can we arrange ourselves or what can we do to make the government sit up and really reconsider restructuring that 1999 document? What can we do here? By talking about it.
By holding accountable. See, we need to hold accountable. The mistake we make is that we put much emphasis on Abuja.
One second. I think that
just
Chioma, I couldn't hear you.
Because we are ignoring there's something we're doing, and it's very problematic. One of the reasons why the Biafra conversation is always going off rail is because people shouting Biafra are not even in agreement about what they are asking for, what it entails. Doc and I are on the same path in terms of knowing that, I mean, the restructuring, the regional rule has worked before. I mean, my parents lived through it, and we know that it has worked. But if you look at the comments, and most of these comments are coming from young people, and I think it needs to point to something so we do not make a mistake. And that mistake will come from not actually understanding what it is that you're asking for. There's a whole bunch of people saying Nigeria will not work. Some people are saying restructuring, and some people are saying succeed, a completely different country. Those are two different things. So we cannot purport to speak for everyone else. There are people who say Biafra or death. Doc and I are in agreement because we believe that if Nigeria were restructured, most of these people wouldn't be talking. But you have to somehow address their current concern at the moment. There's a whole bunch of young people writing things. Let me point this. There has been 2 instances of countries succeeding in Africa. I mean, the third one may be coming with Cameroon, and that is Eritrea from Ethiopia, and the second one is South Sudan from Sudan. Those 2 countries came about after bouts of civil war, which a lot of us watched happen for decades. One of the people, and by young people, I'm addressing people my age, people Doc's age, maybe people your age and down, I'm messing with all of this. This all sounds like a movie. This is not Hotel Rwanda. Do you understand? So when people are saying break Biafra, they want their freedom, who do you want the freedom from? The Constitution because sometimes I think that we need to have this conversation in a way that people would understand it. What Doc is saying is absolutely true. At the moment, as it stands, that Constitution doesn't have a clause for restructuring, let alone succeeding. So that's out of it, right? But we know that the only 2 ways that countries can come about is either through legal means. That is, if you go through the legal way, or you go through war. And oftentimes when we are talking about Biafra, there are people who are talking about let's restructure and see if it's going to work out. Let's try to do this and let's try to do that. Let's come to the table and have a dialogue. And then there is a huge population of young people shouting Biafra or that. And what they mean is war. And those 2 people, those 2 kinds of people are saying 2 different things. So we cannot all be talking at the same time. There's something that Catalonia has done for the past 17 years. They have been trying to succeed from Spain. And I always tell young people, especially people of the Igbo extraction, to always look at history, because history doesn't repeat itself. People do. We mustn't make the same mistakes that everybody else did. We can learn from them. One of the mistakes that they were doing is the same thing that I see happening a lot now. People don't understand what it is that they want. Somebody like Doc he's a very practical person, which is one of the reasons why I like when he speaks. He's very practical. He says, if we do this, then this. If we do this, then this. What Catalonia did in the past was threaten war, trying to do a whole bunch of things, but they realized they have to do one of the two things. Either you go through the legal way, which is to get your people in parliament to vote to change the constitution.
Yeah.
That is what legal means.
Yes.
And if you are not going to take the legal route and you go through war, UN is out of it, because UN has very strict guidelines as to how this could happen. Now, if you're talking about prosecution in being prosecuted as Igbo people, being prosecuted in Nigeria, they will ask you. Let me tell you why it doesn't work, and I'll give you guys what you call ESPO in Nigeria. Some of you that haven't left Nigeria, or maybe you just left and you went to Asian countries that don't care about you. Listen to me very, very carefully. If you can go to Sokoto, for example, and you can find a job there. You can go to Lagos and you can own a house in Banana Island. It's very, very hard to have a conversation about the fact that you're being persecuted in Nigeria. So if you want to have that conversation, you must have a very strict conversation. It's not an emotional conversation. If you say we are politically marginalized, the rest of the world won't care. They will be like, well, everybody's marginalized somewhere. If you want to talk about restructuring, it has to be a restructuring first. If you want to talk about let's put things together, it has to be let's put things together. But if we are dividing and fighting each other online, and we are cursing each other out, and we are saying, oh, this person is the reason why this one is not happening, and it's not going to work. Because if you do that legal thing, one of the things that a lot of young people don't do is when it comes time for maybe to go online to vote for BBN or to vote for things that don't make any sense, you see a whole bunch of people get very, very passionate. But one of the legal things that we talk about here is, now imagine if you are talking about restructuring and you vote in the type of candidate, the type of leaders that are pro-restructuring.
Exactly.
From the south of Nigeria. And from the south of Nigeria, because when you are talking about these things, that's where diplomacy comes in. You must go across the table. This is not something Indigo only can do. So if during elections, during when it matters, somebody's going to come now and tell me, oh, voting doesn't work. There was a time that the black vote didn't count in the US, but look at where we are now. You must do something consistently. We have not been consistent about anything. We are consistent in our emotions. We are consistent in the fact that we know that Nigeria has not treated a lot of people unfairly. But if we are going to go through the legal means, that constitution as it currently is cannot and will not achieve whatever it is that you think. Even war.
Exactly.
The other thing that you do will be an act of war. And that is what I want Igbo people everywhere in the world to understand, especially the ones in Nigeria, especially the ones who maybe because of unemployment or because the fact that you are frustrated or something. I want you to understand that. Two ways. It has to be either the legal way or it has to be the war way. And the second way, we are not for that. We are not for that because when that first war happened, it destroyed Igbo land. And up until today, we are still building.
Thank
Despite
you.
what Nigeria has done to Ndigbo has continued to rebuild with the 20 pounds that they gave us.
Yes.
And we have continued to do that rebuilding despite everything that has been put against us.
Yes.
So if we must continue on that path of rebuilding, and we're going to continue onto that path of doing that, to ask another question here because I'm reading the comments and I'm going into this. Because as young people, this is one of the things that I want you guys to understand. You cannot start now to malign yourselves and to start tearing each other down because at the very, very end of the day, Nigeria as it stands is what it is and it is what you have. If you're going to go to Malaysia, if you're going to go to the US, you will carry a green passport. And when you get to the airport, they will not say, are you from Southeast? Are you from North? Are you from
Nigeria?
And people from the southern part of Nigeria travel the most out of Nigeria. So when you really are coming to have these conversations, it is important purpose and say, if we want to talk about the regional rules that have the regional rule that happens, what Doc is saying, that we know that it worked because every region was responsible for her resources and everybody could develop at their own pace. There is no Igbo person alive in this world, even a baby that was born and has Igbo blood or Biafran blood in them, that you would ask that doesn't understand that Igbo land needs to be developed. That Igbo land, despite the fact that the federal government for most instances haven't really come to our aid, but despite all of that, we are still able to do a whole bunch and we can do even a lot more. Think about the 5 Igbo states. Think about the governors. Imagine if there was unity with the Igbo governors, for example, right? And then during elections, the young people will say, you know what? Even if you're giving me 5,000, you're giving me 10,000, I'm going to eat your money, but I'm still going to vote against you because you are not what I want.
Exactly.
I'm still going to take that because that money that is still part of our commonwealth, and I'm still going to take that money, but I'm still going to that is not against my interest, because when it comes time for elections, they will show up and they will give money and they will try to encourage young people and tell us that they're going to reduce unemployment. Do you know one of the problems of Nigeria is not just unemployment when it comes to young people, is underemployment. A whole bunch of young people are graduates, but they are underemployed. Either they're working in hotels or either they have to go work in a place that is not where they should be working because of the Nigerian situation. And this cuts across whether it's the South or the Southwest or the Southeast. So, but there is no unity of purpose when we are having these kind of conversations. I'm online right now and I'm reading certain things, and you realize that a lot of people don't want to have the conversation at all. People are saying it's either this or this. Honey, this is the real world. And the real world that we live in, you must start from somewhere. And that's somewhere, while we are waiting for our desires, whether you are for restructuring, whether you are from a completely different country, what are you doing in your respective communities? Exactly. What are you doing in elections? What they use young people to do during elections, because I was here during elections and I saw it firsthand, is we are used as the mouthpiece of the leaders. We are used to fight wars online with ourselves and malign ourselves, but they're at the very, very top. Nobody cares. When it comes time to make the right decisions and stuff, you realize that young people who are still disgruntled right now, the people who are telling you divide Nigeria now, it will not work, the people who will not listen to what I'm saying or what Doc is saying, there is something that is eating them up. And right now, the only thing they can listen to is extremism. Is something they must be on the other side of that conversation to feel like they are being. So they don't want to have the conversation about restructuring because, number one, these young people most of them have not sat their parents down and asked them what happened during the time that Nigeria practiced that regional rule before the war. Exactly. It worked. Yes, my mom state, she said that they used to be in, they can get onto the train from the north, and then they could get to Abia State and stuff. Now, there's I don't know, Regina, if you have come to Southeast. I don't ask Doc, maybe, I don't think there's a railroad that is working. But I hear about railroads being refurbished and fixed up in other places. But the South and the Southwest and the... Yeah, Basically, it's like nobody's having the conversation. So when you see these young people, they're already frustrated, they're already agitated, when they have a job, they are underemployed. When they are working, they are just getting minimum wage or below that. What are you going to do with 30K or 60K in a month? Of course you will be extreme. Of course you'll be asking for Nigeria to burn.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we need to them as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Let me come in here.
Yes, please go ahead, Doc, and say something.
I honestly appreciate Chioma's contribution. Now, let me tell you.
Impressed. You have no idea.
The truth of the matter is this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we talk about Biafra, I ask myself this question: who are those who are going to run Biafra?
Yes.
If the same crop of men running the southeast will be in deeper trouble than we are even in Nigeria as a nation.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the southern Cameroon example, you will discover the Ambazonia region had members of the parliament from their region leading the charge for them to have their independence.
Yes.
You see, like Chioma rightly pointed out, the only way you can break out of Nigeria, or the only way you can restructure Nigeria, is either through constitutional means or through war. But war is out of it. And since you are saying, I want peaceful Biafra without war, the first thing you must do is to hold accountable those within your regional sphere of influence. I want you to imagine this, Regina. We have 5 southeastern states. Imagine if the 15 senators from the southeast and the members of House of Rep truly appreciate and understand and in sync with the true agitation for the situation of Nigeria. They will be the people that will be at the vanguard. You know, sometimes I imagine how I wish, you know, in 2015 I ran for Senate and I lost out at the primary level. I imagine myself in the Senate and somebody is presenting a request to borrow $30 billion without anything coming to the southeast. I will raise a storm in the Senate. Not only will I raise a storm in the Senate, I will step out and organize a world press conference within the ambit of the law. I will fight it until these people sit up.
Yes.
Imagine if the southeast governors wake up and say, today we have had enough of this.
Yes.
We are calling for a situation of Nigeria or to your tent, all Nigerians. I have said it. When I see even those who are governing us in the southeast, I don't see ourselves as victims. I see ourselves as accomplices. There's one particular person that says something, and which is very instructive. The man said, if we have 5 people in a room, and these 5 people, each and every one of them have an AK-47, and 4 of them decided that one decided he wants to be an armed robber, and the 4 said, you cannot steal, will not allow you to happen. 2 things will happen. Is either he runs away from the town, or the 4 will kill him.
Yes.
Imagine if there were 5, and the 4 said, we want to be armed robbers, and 1 said, no armed robbery. Is either he runs away, or they will kill him. Most of the people that we have from the southeast and south who are in the Senate, in the rep, in the state assemblies, even as governors, were either elected or leaked into power by the same people within that locality. If truly we as a people, we truly appreciate the need to restructure Nigeria, one of the first things, in 2019, I stated it clearly, I ran for election under the platform of UPP as the governing mate to Honorable Tony Nwolo. And one of the things we said in our manifesto, clearly stated, is that we will champion the restructuring of Nigeria within the legal ambit using our small office in Imo State.
Yes.
Can I tell you something?
What happened?
The same people that we are clamoring for Biafra and restructuring, we are the same people who did not vote for us. We are the same people that helped to rig in those who do not care about restructuring, about Biafra, who only after Jack and find that they will share, and even without paying for pensions and salaries. Chioma is right. If our people are honest and sincere, let me tell you, I am of the supreme conviction Nigeria as currently structured under the 1999 Satanic verse will never work as a country. Even if you bring an angel, that country will corrupt that angel. The only way Nigeria can work is total restructuring. And it can only come through constitutional means. How I wished. Some people will argue, how do we contest the election under an INEC that is controlled from Abuja? Some people will tell that the Supreme Court judges will also manipulate this when they get to that point. But let it be on record.
Yes.
There is no way the judges will manipulate all the elections. If they manipulate the global election, they cannot manipulate the assembly elections. Because those ones do not get to the Supreme Court. If they manipulate those ones, they cannot manipulate the House of Rep and House of Senate. If our people are sincere, I said it in 2015, I said it in 2019, and I will still say it again. The Igbos stands to benefit. The Igbos stand to benefit. In fact, the word for an Igbo, average Igbo man, the word is our village.
Yes.
And the only way we can benefit from this village is to make it work.
Yes.
Since some people do not want to make it work, we will have to start doing it from home. We must hold accountable our local government chairman. We must hold accountable.
Yeah,
do you know something that will shock you?
Yeah.
Are you aware that during the the 8th Republic, an attempt was made to amend the constitution to grant autonomy to the state assemblies? The House of Assemblies in the North voted for it. The House of Assemblies in the West overwhelmingly voted to have independent of the legislators so that the governors cannot make them his appendage. But are you aware that the 5 assemblies in the Southeast voted against their own autonomy? That is what I call safe hate. Somebody who was elected to be, I say it, the problem we have is that we elect spineless men, spineless women who are highly compromised. Do you know that if these guys in my state, Imo State, we have 27 local government areas and 27 assembly members. Do you know if I'm the speaker of the state House of Assembly, all I need to enforce good governance in Imo State is to just get 14 members to be on my side.
Yes.
Do you know what I will do as a speaker?
Tell us.
Governor cannot determine how far is shared or how Jack is shared. By law, appropriation of revenue and expenditures are done by the assembly. But to see how shallow-minded most of these assembly members are, even at national level, Nigeria will earn 10 trillion naira. Those in Abuja will appropriate 120 billion for the 469 members of the National Assembly. They will look away and 9 trillion will be embezzled. If we want to restructure Nigeria, we must start by electing people who share passionately in this struggle to make Nigeria a restructured place.
Okay.
And we must also elect men who do not have skeletons in their cupboard.
Is there anyone like that in Nigeria at this time?
Oh, Regina, Dr. Nnaemeka is one person. See, Regina, let me tell you.
Yes.
In Nigeria today, we have about 7,000 that have not kissed the feet of an Ashara. I say it to every person that wants to run an election in Nigeria. If you're sincere and you're honest, and you're passionately committed to building a big and a good Nigeria, watch your back. Watch your back simply means in your career, in your life endeavors, in your businesses, do not create a skeleton that somebody can unearth tomorrow. That is the only way you can be bold. You can be fierce. That is the only way you can stand up and say, this is what I want, and you pursue it. Why most of the state governors in the Southeast and South, why most of the National Assembly members of the South and South, why most of the members of the Houses of Assemblies cannot courageously pass laws and pursue goals that can benefit our people is because most of them are compromised.
Oh.
They have one skeleton or the other. And I will also tell you the truth, Regina. Beyond emotions and sentiments, 75% of Nigerians are all angling, preparing themselves to get in and do worse.
You see? So where do we go from here?
Let me tell you, the kind of people, the kind of government you get in a society represent the kind of characters of a majority of the people. When we say that most of our political office holders are thieves, it simply means 75% of us are thieves.
Oh my God.
Because if 75% of us...
Don't say it loud. We already have enough problems. Please don't say it loud.
If 75% of Nigerians are truly honest, are truly sincere,
we are
truly committed to restructuring Nigeria, I tell you, 90% of those in political offices will not be there. What are we talking about? People help them to carry ballot box. People help them to doctor results at the polling booths. People help them to doctor it at the ward level. Who are those? Lecturers in the university. People are being owed salary. Professionals, teachers in secondary school, youth corpers that act as ad hoc staff during election.
Yes.
Our problem is with us as a people. We are not victims. We are all accomplices. The first step to our redemption is, first of all, self-introspection.
Yes.
Each and every one of us should look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, what do we want for ourselves and for Nigeria? Are we consistent? Chioma said it. Somebody told me, I will not vote for you because you did not share a bag of rice. Somebody told me, I will not vote for you because you're full of ideas, you're not sharing money.
Oh.
And I said to the person, let me tell you, if I share 100 million to you guys, the next thing, with what I do is to recover that money. If I go to a bank, if I pledge my assets in Lekki Phase 1 or Ikoyi to contest election, borrow money from a bank to contest election, the first thing I will do is to get money to repay that loan, to recover my property.
Exactly.
But our people do not realize this. The day we decide, and I say it, poverty, I say it I'm saying it from experience. Poverty does not make people to begin to misbehave. Poverty is not a license to misbehave. I grew up from a very humble home. My father gave birth to 8 of us. My father lost his job as a clerical accountant at ADC when we were all very young. He lost his job when I was in primary 6, entering college. My mom was a sit-at-home housewife. 8 of us struggled to survive. Things were so difficult, we used to eat 001. Why did my father lose his job? My father lost his job because he refused to compromise unionism. I was a 9-year-old boy. In Igbo, they believe in reincarnation. They believe that my father believed I was his father reincarnated. So he loved me specially among my siblings. Anytime he's holding sensitive meetings, he will bring me to sit by his side. He said, my father, sit and in this meeting. I was with my father in a meeting. My father's salary then was 163 naira per month. They offered him 5,000 naira bribe plus a brand new 504 Peugeot car to sabotage their union that were being owed salaries. My father refused. Imagine what 5,000 would have done to that man and that Peugeot 505. But the man turned it down. As a 9-year-old son, I saw this happen. It was not a story that was told to me. So, growing up, despite the poverty, despite the economic shortcoming. If you go to my village where I come from to ask questions, among my siblings, we are the only ones that will talk about say nobody can rig an election. We are the only ones that will vote our conscience. We are among the few that will say, see, I can blend. I'm too smart to blend and join what is happening. But you ask yourself this question. Between 1957 to 1966, the Southeast witnessed the greatest renaissance.
Yes.
The premier was Michael Ihonukara Okpara. Please go to the Southeast. Michael Okpara died without building a house for himself.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Most of the infrastructure that was built in the Southeast was built by that man. What of Desa Mbakwe? Between 1979 to 1983, Desa Mbakwe established over 25 corporations, developed the new Owerri Capital Territory, built the first independent power generation in the Nigeria. The man died with only a property in his village. And this man was an accomplished legal luminary, a PhD holder in law.
Wow.
Today, even in death, Samuel Mbakwe is being celebrated across the world as a disciplined, honest, industrious man.
Yes.
We have many people in Nigeria today, many young men and women who are smarter, better disciplined, more incorruptible, like Michael Okpara and Samuel Mbakwe. But the same people clamoring for resource control, the same people clamoring for Biafra, the same people clamoring for restructuring. A time will come, you ask them, I volunteered to 2015. Did they elect me? No. 2019, and I can tell you, Regina, without something modest, there is nobody in Imo politics from 1930 to today that is half as smart and creative as this man speaking to you.
Amen.
Give me Imo State in 4 years, even under this satanic verses. While I am championing destruction of that verses, I will build up a template, a governance template that will make people see reason why they should structure, fight for their state and for the people.
We're going to hold you to that.
You, with one mouth, you're shouting restructuring. With one mouth, you're asking Biafra. With one hand, you're collecting bribe to rig in and elect criminals. You're a hypocrite. You're not a victim. You're an accomplice.
Yes.
The only way out of our quagmire is for us to hold accountable. We're talking about hush puppy. We're talking about Invictus Obi. Most of the people who are governing us today were once like hush puppy, only that they were not caught.
Wow.
Most of them, in fact, even we are like Invictus Obi. Look around you. A former IG of police said, in the National Assembly, we have over 69% former armed robbers, 419ers, and drug barons. And it is true. People get the kind of leadership they deserve.
Yeah. What happened to Chioma?
We are honest with ourselves. And we want to rebuild Nigeria. We want to restructure Nigeria. We want Biafra. We should look at South Cameroon and their templates. Fight and hold accountable.
Yes.
Those who are ruining our local governments, our states, our regional level. Ask yourself this question. We are talking about insecurity in the Southeast.
Yes.
The same people holding Buhari responsible. The same people, because Buhari is responsible. Of course, he's responsible. But do you know that we can hold accountable and force our governor? If each and every one of us go to our state and say, our House of Assembly member, our governor, if you don't pass the open grazing law, we are not part of you. Pass the anti-open grazing law. They will be forced to do it.
Yes.
But as long as we continue to give them the long stick, not hold them responsible for our woes, things will continue to be evil and bad in Nigeria.
Wow. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. You know, I was not expecting all this when I invited you, but I'm so happy that you brought all this knowledge to share. I don't know what happened. We kind of lost Chioma. I hope she's able to come back. But we have had, unknown to you, a discussion close to 2 hours. 2 hours of a very informative and very educational discussion. And I will be coming back to you from time to time because there's so much we have to work on from here. Okay, we have to
Yeah.
make like stages, like an action plan, you know, towards what we want, especially make a contribution of, you know, some kind of action, some kind of practical things towards restructuring, whatever we can do to get our voices heard by the government to restructure or to consider to be more inclusive, you know, when it comes to governance in Nigeria. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and expect that I'll be reaching back out to you. And Ms. Chioma, if you can hear me, I thank you so very much. You put my heart at rest when you made those comments on Biafra, not necessarily being for war, not necessarily being for secession, but legal steps to take, concrete, practical ways to, you know, take if you want to get heard, if Biafra, or let me say people from the southeast of Nigeria want to get heard. Thank you so very much for your contribution, Ms. Chioma. Again, Dr. Nnaemeka Obiarerari, thank you so very much for spending your afternoon with me. And to our audience, our viewers from around the world, I see that you guys stuck around, all of you guys. Thank you for spending time with us. For right now, I'll have to say good night, God bless, and see you next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Good night. Oh, wow. Okay. All right.